I think that WWE was a little bit scared. I know that they were scared. I heard on more than one occasion, it was one of those things of, can you imagine, the scandal on our company, because they only think about themselves. If an Olympic gold medalist, dies on our watch.
Kurt Angle is one of the best to ever lace them up.
Anybody arguing to put him on their Mount Rushmore, I don't think you can moan at them for doing that.
Kurt was an amateur wrestler who was kind of recruited into pro wrestling and just naturally took to it. An incredible athlete. He ended up, in his prime, I think he was one of the best performers there ever was.
When I heard that Kurt was released, I was pretty shocked about it. It's like one of those things where how could they let a star like this go?
Because it seemed like he had, so much time ahead of him. It seemed like he was at the absolute peak of his career.
Of course, at the time, we didn't all know the stuff backstage. We didn't all, know the personal stuff, everything else going on.
I think that there was frustration on his part because he was getting hurt, and I think that mentally he knew ways to get better, but the body was starting to fall apart. And he had his addiction issues without a doubt.
It was the last year and a half. I got out of control. I was getting injured quite a bit, and I was wrestling full time, and it was really getting to me. I was tearing my hamstring, then my groin, then my abdominal muscle, then my shoulder, my back, my neck, and it just got to be too much. And the painkillers, I was taking up to 65 extra strength Vicodin a day.
Before he left, it was the time period after Eddie Guerrero had passed away. I remember hearing rumors of some kind of wrestler death pool happening, whereas who's going to be the one to keel off next? And a lot of people thought it was going to be Kurt Angle.
The reason he didn't stay in WWE is because they were wanting him to go to rehab, and he clearly didn't think that he had a problem.
I didn't see it. I didn't. I knew deep down I had a problem, but I was in denial for so many years, and so I said no, and I didn't want to do that, and so I decided I'm going to leave.
Yeah, so when he was gone from WWE, we knew he was leaving. I think that everybody kind of thought he was going to go to UFC.
Dana White gave me a great offer. He's been really good to me. I've reached out to him a couple of different times, and he was willing to give me two separate deals, 2 separate times.
It would have been real tough. Especially in hindsight. In the early UFC, I think he would have walked in just with his wrestling skill and been able to do real well. But as the fighters got more and more advanced and learned how to defend wrestling, to go in there without really much in the way of striking could have been pretty dangerous for him.
I backed out, and it was I just knew I couldn't do it, and I knew if I did it, I'd probably embarrass myself, and I didn't want to get to that point in my career, so I decided just to wrestle.
That's freaking unbelievable, Vital! I don't believe it! Kurt Angle's coming to TNA! No freaking way!
I remember doing a double take and being like, what? Hold on. TNA was able to he just left WWE.
And I was told that, the number of people who knew was very, very small.
And I immediately started thinking of all the amazing matches that we were going to get to see.
Samoa Joe and AJ Styles.
Christian Cage and Rhino.
Abyss, in the X Division.
And so you're like, well, man, this is so many fresh possibilities. What could this lead to? Could more people leave?
I thought at the time, it was the biggest move that TNA had made.
To not just get arguably the guy who's the best wrestler in the world at that time, but the guy who was the best wrestler in the world at that time at his prime.
His style at that time, at that moment in his career, you felt like TNA was the right fit.
I went after it because it was a reduced schedule. The money was, from a guarantee standpoint, just as good. So I knew I was guaranteed that money, and I knew I would wrestle a lot less. And it just was more appetizing to me at that point.
That was probably a lot easier on him in that respect. But then again, he wasn't being treated for the big problems he had. He wasn't going to rehab. He wasn't being taken care of himself.
There were all kinds of warning signs still when he was there that, yeah, I think they kind of looked the other way in a lot of ways.
4 DUIs in 5 years. And the last one, I was in jail, and I called my wife, and she said, I can't do this anymore. I'm going to leave you. And she said, if you go to rehab, I'll consider staying, but I can't do this anymore. So I went because of my wife and my kids. And
Wow.
it was the best move I ever made.